Welcome, namaste. I am so happy to be with you today. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had our class, so I'm really glad that we have an opportunity to practice together today. Today we are going to take it slow and steady, a nice bit more of a restorative practice today, a little bit more low key, just to bring things down a little bit. And I thought today's theme could be centered around samskaras. Now, samskaras are thought patterns that are created in our minds and also physically in our bodies and in our lives. And samskaras effectively are habits. And often when we refer to samskaras, we refer to them in the sense of our thought patterns, which, as we know, as humans we tend to kind of err on the side of negativity when it comes to our thoughts. So samskaras can often be the repetition of negative thoughts within the mind. But through our practice, we really try to streamline those thoughts and really try to create the stillness of the mind and kind of allow that chitti vritti, that monkey mind, to kind of slow down a little bit. So as we think about patterns from literally a neurological standpoint, when we repeat that same kind of rhetoric in our minds, we create these patterns. It's almost like this patterning, this neuro patterning, and it becomes almost like a loop. And we can break those samskaras, we can break those habits just by kind of shifting our thought process and trying to shift it into a different kind of direction. So in today's practice, I want us to think about the idea of samskaras, not just from a thought process standpoint, but also from a physical standpoint. Even just sitting here, I'm in a samskara. My habit is to take my right leg before my left. But maybe today I might switch it up a little bit. Try to change that patterning a little bit, just to see, also to experiment a different perspective, a little shift. So go ahead and get yourself comfortable. Maybe you want to lie down. Maybe you want to find yourself seated. We're just going to begin with a few moments of quiet meditation, allowing ourselves to connect into our pranayama practice, allow us to turn inward. So when you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. If you're seated, maybe you're finding a little bit of length through the spine, maybe a little lift of the back of the neck. You're lying down, perhaps you're allowing your body to feel heavy into the earth. And let's just take a moment here to notice our thoughts, notice our physical body. Maybe start to turn your attention inward. Try to tune in. Notice if you are holding on to any tension in some very predictable places in the body. Maybe your samskara, your habit, is to hold your tension in the upper body. See if just for today, you can allow a little bit of softness there. Maybe softness through the fingers or the low back. We all kind of create this rhythm in our lives, very habitual rhythms. And some of those rhythms are positive and add that positive twist. Some of them aren't. And just notice if you have any patterns here, maybe just with your breath. Maybe when you find yourself coming to the mat, your initial instinct is to start thinking about what you've got to do today. See if just for today, you can let those thought patterns kind of disappear. Let them soften. Maybe perhaps you start to notice the quality of the breath entering and leaving the body. Notice all the different textures and qualities, the different temperatures, the different flow. Notice if you find yourself maybe breathing in the upper part of the lungs. Maybe that might be your go-to. Perhaps just for today, you start to take that breath a little deeper to the belly. Start to notice as you breathe in how it fills your abdomen, fills your lungs, invites a sense of expansion. And perhaps as you exhale, you start to notice the quality of the belly coming in towards the earth or towards the back of the room, depending on where you are. And if you come back to that old thought pattern of something that's pulling you away, take that just for today and take that thought and let it slip away and bring your attention back to your breath. And it might take a lot of practice to continuously repeat that reminder to yourself. That's okay. That's part of the process. Let's take the next 3 breaths as deep as we can into the belly, inviting our Ujjayi breath in. A breath in through the nose and a breath out of the nose, creating that ocean sound from within. Today, I'd like us to adopt a mantra. Our mantra today is just for today. Just for today. Maybe whenever we start to move our body, you may explore different avenues, different options, and just remind yourself that maybe just for today, we'll just try something a little different, maybe approach it with a different perspective, maybe even just notice the quality of the movement in a different way. Seeing if we can turn that perspective from the all persuasive negative thought patterns of, oh, I'm feeling tight, or oh, my body's not moving, and see if we can just for today invite this idea of we're just going to let our body flow in whatever way feels good for us without any judgment or any expectation. Now, when you're ready, maybe you start to open the eyes. If you're lying down on the ground, stay where you are. I'm going to come and meet you there. And we're going to slowly bring our right knee in towards our chest. Perhaps if you have a yoga block or something underneath the sacrum, you'll perhaps set that to the side. Perhaps if we're taking care of our back, just for today, you'll keep that left knee bent and that left foot down onto the ground. And as you draw your right knee in towards your chest, just notice any sticking points. See if just for today you can release the hip a little bit. Try to soften into the space. Maybe start to twirl the ankle in one direction, creating a little bit of movement through the joints. Continuing to breathe in with your Ujjayi breath. Maybe we reverse the direction of the ankle in the opposite way. Notice if you start to wander off with the mind. See if just for today you can take it one breath at a time. When you're ready, let's go ahead and set that right foot down. Maybe we keep the right knee bent as we draw the left knee in towards the chest. Gently breathing in, and as you exhale, draw the knee in towards the heart as you breathe out. Perhaps inviting some rotations through the ankle. And perhaps reversing that direction. Maybe just for today, you slow that pace down and really notice all the different areas of the ankle, the toes, the sole of the foot, the heel. Maybe you just notice the sensation of the coolness of the air kissing upon the body. When you're ready, go ahead and recenter your foot and then bring both knees in towards your chest. Taking a big inhale and then exhale, drawing the knees in towards the chest, lengthening the tailbone. Perhaps as you draw the knees in, we start to open the knees in opposite direction and just kind of stirring the pot here. Coming back to this all too familiar space and movement. But maybe just for today, we slow things down a little and notice the quality. Maybe we notice if we can release a little bit of tension. Find a little bit of that flow. Perhaps we take the knees in the opposite direction. Perhaps you notice a little bit of the engagement of the inner thighs as you draw the knees towards center. Maybe you notice physically the different areas of the leg and the glutes that are working to facilitate the movement. Maybe you notice the pads of your fingers holding on to the knees. And feel the texture of the fabric underneath your hands. Noticing perhaps any sticking points, any kind of areas that are not feeling as fluid. See if you can soften in that space and invite a little bit more flow, a little bit more softness. When you're ready, the next time you bring your knees in towards your chest, let's go ahead and set the inner thighs towards center, resting the hands at the front of the knees, and maybe rock our body side to side. Spreading the low back into the floor, massaging the spine, the back of the head, the shoulders. Notice if there's any sort of restraint on movement here. Maybe you typically go into one direction and then find yourself pulling back towards center. See if you can spread the back out a little bit more. Maybe even create a little bit of movement through the head by letting it shift side to side. Perhaps as you bring your knees in towards your chest, you notice that you're straining through the shoulders. Maybe just for today, you let the shoulders relax a little bit, find a little bit of this softness in the body, letting the body kind of flow in its own way. As you're ready, let's make our way back in towards center. Recenter our feet down to the floor, hip distance apart. And from here, we're going to flow into our bridges. Perhaps letting the hands begin to rest just around to the floor, opening up wide through the clavicles, pressing into the heels, energizing through the ball of the feet, engaging through the glutes as we start to inhale and lift our sacrum up off the ground. Notice if we can keep the shoulders soft and the chest wide and the throat clear. Energize through the knees as if we're reaching the knees beyond the toes. Exhale, slowly make your way all the way down. Flowing with a really lovely rhythm as you breathe in, open up the front of the body, press into the feet, expand through your heart space. Exhale, set yourself down. As you flow here, notice, are you straining? Are you forcing this movement? Maybe today you just find that little bit of that lift. We try to find that range that works for our body. Notice, are you engaging through the backside of the body? Do you find yourself straining through the upper body? Maybe let the upper body feel even softer. Maybe feel like you can open up through the hips here as you lift your chest and your torso up towards the sky. Maybe you notice the pads of the feet pressing down to the floor, the ball of the foot and the heel. They just anchor there, creating that sense of foundation. See if after you've done a few that you start to find that rhythm, that flow. Maybe notice the inner thighs working to help support. And as you're ready, let's go ahead and do one more. And then go ahead and set your sacrum down to the floor. Keep your feet rested, knees, hips, ankles, all lovely aligned. Guiding the hands behind the head, interlacing the fingers. Opening up through the chest. Setting the sacrum down and finding that neutral spine, allowing the low back to have that nice little natural arch here. Lifting the head off the ground and almost as if you're taking the crown of the head and pressing it away from the shoulders. Let's take a big inhale. Exhale, start to raise yourself up, lifting, keeping that spine nice and neutral. Inhale, back down. As you move into these lifts, notice, are you straightening through the neck? Are we engaging through the core to raise the body, to peel the shoulder blades off the ground? We find ourselves maybe pressing the low back down to the ground to help facilitate this lift. Can we find a really gentle rhythm with the breathing, coordinating the lift with the exhale, and the lower with the inhale. Can you find a little less stress in the shoulders? Just noticing all the work of our powerhouse, our center of our body here. You find a little more sense of ease as you raise the body, peeling the shoulder blades off. Let's go ahead and do a few more. And then when you're ready, go ahead and set yourself back down. Let the hands fall to the side of the body. Open up the feet nice and wide. From here, go ahead and windshield wiper the knees in and out. Gently releasing any tension in the hips and the core and the low back. Just finding a nice little rhythm with the breathing here. Notice if there's any tension in the pelvic area. Perhaps taking your breath to that space with the intention of releasing anything that's not serving you. As you're ready, we'll slowly make our way back in towards center. Maybe toe healing the feet so that they're aligned with the hips and the glutes. And go ahead and cross that right ankle over the left. Begin to open up through that right hip. Notice here if there's any strain through the hip, any sort of inclination to lift that left hip up to facilitate a little bit of a deeper hip opener on the right side. From here, either stay here or maybe draw that left thigh in towards center. Maybe interlacing the hands behind the thigh, inviting that opening into the right hip. Soften the shoulders. Soften the hip. Maybe you're just focusing on connecting into the body here. Maybe your eyes are closed. And then when you're ready, go ahead and set your left foot down. Let's go ahead and take that right foot, set it next to the left. Extending the arms out to a strong T, pressing the feet into the floor, lifting the sacrum and shifting it to the left about 2 to 3 inches. Taking a deep breath, and then as you exhale, twist your legs towards the right side, opening up the chest. Maybe when we typically come into this pose, we're straining to keep that top leg as close to the bottom leg as possible. Today, can you try to release that desire? Maybe find a different position, maybe adjust the hip a little bit more to invite a little bit more ease into the pose. Maybe you typically turn your gaze towards the opposite direction or not. Maybe you keep the gaze up towards the sky. Maybe today you switch things up and try a different pose, a different position. And as we start to get ourselves ready to pull ourselves out of here, notice if we can start to use the top leg to start to facilitate the lift, and then setting down of the left hip down towards the floor. Recenter using your abdominals, recenter your body, pressing the feet into the floor, bringing the sacrum back towards the middle of your mat. From here, rest the hands at the side of the body and take the left ankle over the right and begin just to open up the hip here. Either drawing the right thigh in towards the chest or keeping the left knee just open with the right foot down to the floor. Maybe you notice there's a difference between one side and the other. Maybe you instinctively approach the side that feels a little less maybe mobile or accessible. See if you approach it with that sense of apprehension. Maybe just for today, you approach it with a sense of openness and acceptance. And then when you're ready, go ahead and reset your right foot down to the floor. Unwind your left from your right. Extend the arms out one more time into that strong T. Pressing into the heels, engaging through the glutes, lifting the sacrum just enough so that you can shift your pelvis over to the right and take your legs over to the left. Maybe you turn the gaze or you keep the gaze towards the sky. Maybe just for today, you take a couple of nice big breaths and just let your body melt into the earth. When you're ready, go ahead and start to raise that top leg and reset yourself back in towards the center of the mat. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll on to our favorite side and bring ourselves to all fours. And perhaps just for today, we'll take a yoga block and we'll set it in between the inner thighs. Bringing awareness to the muscular structure between the legs. Maybe noticing a little bit of pressure of the legs kind of squeezing into the block here. The tops of the feet resting down onto the floor, hands directly underneath the shoulders. Let's begin to move through our cat-cows here. Breathing in as we arch the low back, open up through the chest. Exhale, pull the belly in, round through the spine. Maybe as you press your hands into the floor and engage through the glutes, you start to notice a little bit of pressure of the inner thighs squeezing the block. Engaging the muscles, pulling in through the pelvic floor. Finding a nice rhythm of the breathing here as you breathe in to open up into cow. Breathe out to empty the belly. Continuing to breathe with our Ujjayi breath. Maybe just for today, you start to imagine the articulation of the spine. You can see it in your mind's eye, moving and inviting this extension and flexion. Notice all the different moving parts. The hands pressing up against the floor, the shoulders engaging, the back of the neck releasing, the breath flowing in and out, the engagement of the core, engagement of the glutes, the tops of the feet pressing into the floor, offering that sense of foundation and support. Maybe you start to notice a little bit more of a flow. As you're ready, let's go ahead and make our way back in towards our tabletop. And perhaps set the block off to the side, coming back into our tabletop in preparation for our needle and thread. Inhale, taking the left hand out towards that 90-degree angle, and then exhale, needle and threading it underneath the right. Maybe taking that top arm and anchoring it down with the intention of opening up through the shoulders, inviting a little bit more of a twist in the upper part of the spine. Notice as you do this, if you're weighing so deeply into the left knee that you can barely feel the right knee touching, see if you can re-anchor both knees down. Maybe you invite that right arm as a sense of support to help open up the chest. Notice if you're holding your breath. Notice if your legs are engaging and you find yourself stressing the muscle. See if you can soften that engagement. And just for today, maybe softening the eyes. Softening the shoulder. When you're ready, press into that right hand, engage through the glutes, use all the muscles to help lift your body, come back towards center. Taking the right hand out to a T, and then needle and threading underneath the left. Again, maybe anchoring that right arm down to the floor. Notice if you're weighing into the right knee this time. Try to resettle into both knees. Just offering a gentle twist, a gentle shoulder stretch. As you're ready, let's go ahead and press into that left hand. Start to press into the floor with the hand and use all the muscles to come back towards center. Reestablishing your tabletop, let's prepare to go into our spinal balance. Weighing into the right hand, the left knee, and the left foot. Inhale, extend the left arm and the right leg as you extend the arm in opposition to the leg. Engage in through the core, lengthen the body, lift that bottom leg so it's exactly at hip height. Notice all the work in the back of the body here. Are you collapsing into that right shoulder? Can you press that right hand into the floor, really pressing and supporting that right shoulder? On your next exhale, release the left hand and right knee, come back through center. Extend the right arm and left leg. Engaging through the back of the body, pulling up through the belly and energizing fingertip to toe. And then reset right to left. Let's go ahead and flow here. Breathing in as you extend, exhale as you release. As you're doing so, notice, are you energizing through the back of the body to facilitate more of a lift of the leg? Can you pull the belly in more? Really inviting that sense of awareness of the core. Can you energize through the leg and find that energy through the inner thigh, through the quadriceps, through the glutes, through the hamstrings? Can you extend the arm, just noticing that energy that you're creating, that length that's helping to create space through the vertebrae? Let's do one more on either side. And then whenever you're ready, let's come into our child's pose. Knees wide, big toes together. As you press your hips down, maybe you invite an opening of the arms. Notice as you come into this restorative pose, where do you tend to fall into? Where do you tend to bring your body? Is there any apprehension that might cause tension? Can you find that breath coming into the body and expanding the back of the body? Maybe you notice your exhale allowing you to melt a little bit down towards the earth. Maybe if your arms are extended, notice, do you naturally want to tension into the shoulders? Can you try to soften that space, maybe even by opening up the arms a little wider? Maybe your eyes tend to tension as they close. Can you soften that brow space, that third eye, that ajna space? Notice, are your hips straining, wanting to engage to help the body? Can you send a message that's clear that just for today, we're going to let those hips open and release? Maybe from here, we lift the palms of the hands and press the tips of the fingers into the floor and lift the crown of the head 3 to 4 inches off the floor, walking our hands over to one side. As you do so, reset yourself down if it feels comfortable to reset the forehead to the floor. And maybe just for today, take that right arm and take it about an inch further of the left. Inviting this really large, expanding opening of the right side of the body. Are you straining with the shoulder up towards the ear? Can you invite that room, that space? As you're ready, go ahead and tent the hands, press the tips of the fingers into the floor, walking the hands over towards the right side, taking that left arm about an inch forward of the right. Notice if one side feels a little bit more tensioned, maybe not, maybe a little bit more accessible. Try to approach this with an opportunity of just finding that expansion without straining. When you're ready, let's go ahead and tent the hands and walk the hands back towards center. And this time, let's go ahead and shift our body forward. Take the hands underneath the shoulders, draw the knees in towards center. And we're going to go ahead and bring ourselves into a kneeling plank. So extend the legs out long. And just for a brief moment, notice here if you can extend through the crown of the head and through the heels. Engage in through the core. Press the hands into the floor, keeping the shoulders nice and supported. And then from there, go ahead and set your knees down to the floor. Tucking the elbows in, taking a breath as we exhale, coming down towards the earth. Pressing the hands into the floor, drawing the shoulder blades back, engage through the core, press the tops of the feet into the floor. Inhale, find your cobra. Notice, do you tend to strain through the shoulders? Are you aiming to come up as high as you can? Maybe you want to just find that space that works for you today. As you're ready, exhale, come back down. Turn the toes underneath, press back, downward dog. With your feet maybe hip distance apart or maybe even wider, press the hands into the floor. Energize through the thumb and through the pointed finger. Set the heels down. Maybe start pedaling the feet, walking the dog here. As we approach our downward dog, notice, do we tend to want to move in a certain way? Do we tend to try to grip into the hands? Can we soften through the wrists and expand through the heart? Can we pedal the feet with a really lovely coordination of the breath here to help facilitate that opening of the back of the legs? Can we soften through the heart space and through the throat, through the neck? And just for today, maybe try to release the shoulders, any tension through the elbows. And just feel that sense of balance between the front and the back of the body. When you're ready, let's go ahead and set both heels down towards the earth, opening up the chest, softening the heart. And then as you're ready, shift your weight all the way forward, finding your plank position. Setting the knees down, pressing back onto the heels, extend the arms out, draw the knees in towards center. And then as you're ready, coming back into all fours, let's make our way into our kneeling position. With the knees hip distance apart, an opening of the hands to the side, energizing through the core, lifting up tall, rolling the shoulder blades back, and then extending the arms back as we come into a modified camel here. So just inviting that extension into the upper part of the body, lifting up through the sternum, softening the gaze, we gently lifting the gaze up upon the horizon, opening up the heart, drawing the shoulder blades back and down. Maybe if it feels comfortable, interlacing the fingers and opening up through the chest. Keeping the pelvis nice and neutral, not straining through the back. Notice if, as you come to this pose, you tend to slow the breathing down. Can you refocus on keeping that Ujjayi breath nice and fluid? Softening through the throat, through the shoulders, through that third eyebrow space. And then as you're ready, releasing the hands, coming back in towards our center and coming onto our sits bones. And as we're ready, we're going to come into Sukhasana. So maybe just for today, we're going to raise ourselves up if that feels more comfortable for you. You can even sit on your bolster just to lift up if that feels best. Wonderful. Kind of roll the shoulder blades back. Kind of loosen up through the neck. Wonderful. And then when we're ready, we'll go ahead and just take a nice big inhale in through the nose. And a nice clearing breath out of the mouth. Kind of erasing anything that's not serving us, just as a way to release it out of the body. And maybe one more. Now, the next time we take a big inhale, let's sweep the hands up towards the sky. And gently twist towards the left, setting the right hand to the left knee. The left hand comes back, gently twisting. Maybe you notice a little rounding of the spine. What if you can lift the crown? Find that space. Find a sense of ease here. Even the softening of the eyes. Maybe turn the gaze in the opposite direction. As you're ready, unwind your body from the tailbone, the low back, the mid back to the upper back. Let's go ahead, take that front leg back and that back leg forward. And on our next inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. And then twist towards the opposite direction. Resting the hands down, lifting through the spine, twisting. You tensioning through that left arm, through the shoulder. See if you can invite a twist without any sort of force. Maybe turn the gaze in the opposite direction. As you're ready, unwind yourself from tailbone, low back to mid back. Let's go ahead and cross that front leg, back leg forward. Taking the left hand out to the side, tenting the hands, inhaling, taking the right arm up and gently leaning over towards the left. Pressing down into that right hip. Now, as you lift here, can you find that imaginary string at the top of the crown? Keeping you lifted, pressing that right hip down. Maybe you have that tendency to lift that right leg in that attempt to kind of find a little bit of a deeper side bend here. Maybe just for today, we try to relax that right side of the body. On your next inhale, sweep the right hand over to the right side, taking the left hand up and over towards the right. Can you remain tall through the spine, inviting that opening of the ribs, knowing that you have that right arm there to support you. As you're ready, come back through center. Wonderful. And let's go ahead and extend our arms out to a strong T. And I'd like you to give yourself a hug and try to reach for those shoulders and just give those shoulders a nice little opening. Maybe even duck the back of the neck down towards the chin, towards the chest. Rounding slightly through the spine, giving the back of the shoulders a little bit of an opening as you create a little bit of that ducking of the chest as you press the chest back towards the back of the room. On your next inhale, extend the arms, switch directions, maybe take that top arm down, that bottom arm up, and do the same thing, dropping the chest, extending the back of the neck, rounding through the front of the body, pressing the shoulder blades back upon the rib cage as you create a little concave or C curve up in the abdomen. Inhale, extend the arms out. Exhale, just let them float down to the floor. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and make our way onto our backs, and let's grab our strap for today. We're going to give ourselves a little stretch in the back of the legs. So when you're ready, setting yourself down to the floor, we're going to take the yoga strap and set it underneath our feet and extend our legs up to the sky. Now, as you're here, resettle your sacrum down to the floor. Notice if you tend to want to lift the legs and find that sacrum lifting up off the floor. Rather than doing that, maybe resettle the sacrum down, flex into the heels, stacking the legs, hip, ankle, knee, relaxing into the back of the body. Maybe as you tip your heels up to the sky and your toes towards the back of the room, you start to notice that lengthening of the back of the legs. Notice if you're straining through the upper body, can you relax through the upper body? Just allow the strap to do its thing. Wonderful. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bend into the knees and reset the feet down to the floor. Take the strap and set it off to the side. When you're ready, let's go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together, widen through the knees, and find ourselves in our reclined butterfly. Now, if we tend to want to go into the space with the intention of opening up as wide as possible, but we notice it strains the low back, see if maybe you could take your yoga block and just invite a little bit of release, maybe setting the knees onto the yoga block. And just taking a moment here in Sukhasana, in reclined butterfly pose, just to open up through the hips. Soften through the heart space. Let's take 2 big clearing breaths here, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then as you're ready, start to engage through the inner thighs as you lift the knees up towards the sky. Toe heel the feet so the feet are as wide as the mat, and just gently create a little bit of windshield wiper movement here. Loosening up through the hips, loosening up the legs. And then whenever you're ready, come back through center. And let's get ourselves ready for our Shavasana. Maybe extend the legs, or maybe today you decide to do something different. Maybe you come into constructive rest pose, or you rest your knees on top of your yoga block or your yoga bolster. And as you make your way into your Shavasana, let this be a time to keep the mind quiet, to focus on our pranayama, our breath practice. And as you're here, notice if there's any tendencies to kind of pull your mind into a different direction. And maybe just for today, you focus on your breath. Focus on being present in this very moment. And letting any distractions kind of drift off like a boat in the sea. And as you're ready, let's start to deepen the breath, bringing awareness to our physical body. Maybe start to invite a little bit of gentle movement through the fingers and the toes. Maybe you take this reawakening in a different way, maybe by extending the arms overhead. Maybe rolling the shoulders. And then when you're ready, let's just take a moment of transition on our side. So maybe roll onto your favorite side. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and press yourself up, making your way back into Sukhasana. And when you're ready, maybe bring our hands to Anjali Mudra. And with a gentle bow of our head towards our hands, let us remind ourselves of the divine that lives within us all. May your heart always stay warm. May your smile always stay broad. And may the light that shines in me honor and see the light that shines in you. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for today's practice. As always, it's such an honor to be able to practice with you. I hope that you take this idea of the samskaras with you off the mat, because I think it's a pretty significant thing to think about. So thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again soon. From my heart to yours, thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste. Bye, everyone.